you so much for agreeing to chat with me.
Of course, always ready.
And well, I guess my first question would be, what gave you the original idea for Masters Union came first, right? And then Teta?
Yeah.
So what gave you the original idea?
So when I was in college, even though it was at that time the rank 1 business school in the world, very honestly, I used to sleep in most of my classes. Right?
I've heard that's just a cultural thing that is not uncommon.
No, I mean, I say it jokingly, but it was true that a lot of my friends were disengaged in the classroom. We would study one night before the exam and we'd forget everything the day after. What was being taught, we never knew why it was being taught and why it is important to learn, right? And most importantly, most of the stuff that we were learning, we soon realized was outdated and we were never actually going to use that stuff later on in life. And I think all of us have been there. And at that moment, to be very honest, in college, there was so much frustration. I had decided that one day in my life, I will start a university. I thought that would be when I'm 80 or 90 or, but it just so happened that during COVID, we had some time and we started with a small experiment, which saw some success, some failures. And then we just sort of iterated on that experiment and now we're here.
So could you summarize for those who are maybe watching this who don't know Masters Union, summarize it in one sentence?
Absolutely. So Masters Union and Tetr College are both experiential universities where in addition to the curriculums that we are used to around exams, lectures, slides, grades, attendance books, we have that. But that is a very small percentage. Majorly, the students are focused on actually learning by doing, right? So in the business school, for example, students have to build a business in every semester and their grades actually come from the revenues, the margins, the profits, the NPS, the ROAS, real metrics that the world cares about, right? So you have a little bit of examinations going on, the way we are used to assessments, but a big chunk is coming from actually learning by doing, right? I think that's incredibly unique. A lot of universities talk about learning by doing, experiential education, practical education, but it's usually the exception, not the norm. There'll be like that one elective in the corner. That would be experiential, sure. But the university itself is still rooted in theory. And I think we're trying to challenge that norm where in our case, learning by doing is the norm. That's 90% and then 10% theory,
And then what's the difference between Teta and Masters Union?
Chapter 1 and Chapter 2.
Right.
Masters Union, we started in India. And Masters Union, most of my students are Indian. And it started off as a business school, and now it has an engineering school. We'll be starting a law school soon. And here, 99.9% of my students are Indians, right? And we teach in an Indian context. We're assuming that these students will stay back in India, and they'll build companies in India. 25% of my students end up starting companies, and the average salary for the rest, 75%, is the highest in the country of any business school, including the ones that have existed for hundreds of years. Right? We're a big feeder into some of the large consulting firms, some of the large startups, and the average GMAT for our MBA program is 728, which is also amongst the highest in the country. It is the highest in the country. Chapter 2 is Tetr College. Tetr is very interesting in that students study in a different country every semester. So semester 1, they are in Dubai. Semester 2, they are in India. From here, they go to Singapore and Malaysia. Then they go to Ghana. Then they go to Buenos Aires. Then they go to New York. And they finally finish in Europe. Right? And they learn by doing, but they also learn through travel. So now that they're in India, they are visiting the Indian parliament. They're visiting the Indian companies, Indian factories, and seeing up close how these things work. Right? In Tetr, most of our students are actually not Indian, right? So almost 75% students are from the rest of the world. 60 countries are represented. That includes US, UK, 30% students, 28% students from Latin America, which is incredible. And I think Tetr is perhaps the second version of the practical education that we were trying to sort of envision.
And I should mention that my son is studying it with Teta, for those who don't know. When I tell parents, they're all like, wow, what's the name? Tell me more. I think as a parent, I love the fact that it's such a global cohort.
Right.
How do you achieve that? I guess that's my next question.
Yeah. I think in Teta, we got really lucky that the program itself is very high on virality. So let me explain what that means, right? So when you tell someone about the program, they will tell somebody else about the program. There is that chain that gets constructed just because of the nature of the program. You learn through travel, you learn by doing. And so in the very early days, we got very lucky that a few YouTubers picked up on this.
Right.
And they made a couple of videos. Some of them crossed 100 million, 200 million views. And just like that, we got hundreds of thousands of applications from, I think at one point, 164 countries, right? And I think that strategy we continue to double down on till today. We work with influencers and creators usually, the ones that students listen to and students relate to and students respect. And we just do partnerships with them where we call them to the campus. We tell them, hey, you're on campus, meet with the kids, see what they're doing, maybe buy their products. And if you like it, make a video. I think it's quite cool. I think you should make a video, but no pressure. More often than not, they end up. And sometimes those videos do well. And that's how we get all our applications. We, unlike other universities, we depend minimally, like less than 5% on paid marketing.
Right.
On Google and Facebook.
And what are you most proud of today with the Masters Union and Teta journey?
Yeah. This year, we have sent 7 of our students to Shark Tank.
Really?
In Shark Tank in India. And I think next year that number will be double of this. And to create entrepreneurs, when I went to Penn, out of a batch of 2,500 students, maybe 5 chose entrepreneurship. Right? That's less than 1%. That's less than 0.1%, I think. Right? At Masters Union, that number is 25% for the MBA students. For the undergraduate students, is more than 50%. And at Tetr, I'm waiting to see the results. My guess is it will be maybe 30 to 40%. Right? And that's an incredible number for a university, to have almost half of its students starting companies, being job creators. And that impact, that trickle-down impact, I think is unfathomable over a long period of time. Right? What will that one company do? What will those, so I think most excited for the work that we have done in changing the mindset of the student and the parent.
Maybe in India particularly.
Absolutely,
it's a more of a new cultural shift, is it? To be
Absolutely.
like, you don't have to go into IT consultancy law, you can become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that mindset shift, I think it took us some time. We had to show some success that, hey, even if you start companies, you can be successful. It can be risky, sure, right? But you can always get a job. So might as well give it a shot.
Right.
That's most proud, that makes
And
sense.
so you come from a family of entrepreneurs. So your father set up lovely professional university. I just wondered how that had also informed your thinking about education or your potential career prospects when you were growing up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my parents co-founded one of India's first private universities, if not the first. And I've seen them build it brick by brick. My family, they've worked really hard, and I have seen them growing up, right? Now, 2 things. One is that I see the gratification that they get from graduating 15,000 students every year.
Wow.
Right? There's no city where they don't have alumni, and I see the love that they get from the alumni and the impact that they've had on the alumni, right? So I think for me, the motivation came looking at my parents and their gratification. That's number 1. And number 2, I think that I am very well positioned, having had the context of LPU. There's this thing called the founder market fit. I feel strongly that if someone were to do a 2.0 university in India or elsewhere, I think I would be one of the better prepared ones to do it, just because where I come from.
Okay, thank you so much. And final question. You mentioned Shark Tank. You are now appearing, I understand, on Shark Tank as one of the judges.
Yeah.
What's that like as an experience? And how is that perhaps also building recognition for what you've achieved so far?
So I think in Britain, we have Dragon's Den.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Shark Tank, of course, in the US and in India. And then I think there are a bunch of other versions across the world. People talk about edtech companies. I really feel Shark Tank is a great edtech company. We look at it as a show. I look at it almost as like a university, right? I think it's done more to change people's mindsets. It has done more to teach people basic terminology. It has done more to start conversations in the dining rooms and in the living rooms around entrepreneurship than any other university probably has. And I mean like Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, more than that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Right? And so I feel while not everything is as it happens in reality, I think it's an incredible platform. And I'm very fortunate to be associated with it. I made a few investments.
You have?
Yes, I did. I think in my episode, I made the most number of investments.
Oh. What have you invested in?
The episodes are not out yet, so I can't.
Okay.
But I'm associated with them for the university episodes, right? So they have these episodes where they call students specifically, right? And I think we are better suited there to make a judgment. And most are D2C brands. A lot of them are actually solving problems of other students. And of course, now in deep tech, we are trying to make waves. So these are the three major sectors.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I just thought of one more question.
Please.
But
sorry, on that, one thing that really excited me was seeing 17-year-olds making revenues of $5 million and above.
Wow.
Right? With 300 employees.
Wow.
Right? This was there on my episode. I was so taken aback that this is even possible. Not 21, not high school.
For us as Brits being here working in India, there's an element of anything is possible in India, right? The scale, the opportunity, the vision.
Yeah.
My last question was going to be around the countries you've chosen to take Teta cohorts to.
Yeah.
I was very excited by Ghana, but I was wondering how you chose. Delhi is obvious, Dubai perhaps obvious, particularly with education as well. But how you chose all the countries.
Yeah. I get a lot of flack from British folks that we did not do London.
Oh, I think it's great. It's good.
I think people have watched enough of British cinema and all of that. They know enough of what's happening. No, so Dubai, because Dubai is the new center of the world. You need to see the pace and the growth of Dubai. When you go there, I strongly believe that you think differently about the world and what is possible. The opulence is one, but just the mindset of the king. They don't have oil, by the way. Right?
Yeah,
They've built Dubai not on the back of oil like we believe, but on the back of a very strong vision. Right?
Yeah.
And to take the crown of the center of the world away from London and New York, that is something you have to witness. Delhi, it's the capital of the fastest growing country in the world. Anything is possible in India, right? And you have to, again, be in India to feel India. You can't feel India from Bollywood, right? Or from music or whatever, right? Singapore and Malaysia, we are excited about it, but very honestly, we are trying to find a partner in China. I'd rather do China than Singapore.
Right.
Singapore is great. But Singapore doesn't pose as much of a challenge to students, I feel. It's too comfortable. So we are currently exploring, moving our base to China.
Okay.
And China, I don't think I have to defend China. Manufacturing students, even if they're students of business, they need to know how things are actually made and manufactured. And there are some amazing trade shows that happen in China. And I want to plan in such a way that people can visit the Canton Fair.
Right.
I went to the Canton Fair 2 years ago. The way I look at the world completely changed.
Right.
You see maybe 20,000, 30,000 companies put up their stalls and selling everything from missiles
Really?
to lawnmowers,
Really?
to glasses, to furniture, to shoes, to everything. And you're like, oh, this is where these AirPods actually come from.
Right.
Or and then there'll be people there, they say, okay, you want to buy this? Let's go to the factory right now. And then they'll take you in their bus and you go to visit the factory and you place an order. You see how the world economics actually works and why China has a fiscal surplus against every country in the world. You see that in action there.
Wow.
Africa is, I think, the next China or the next India. Students go there, they see a lot of gaps, and that gets them very excited about what they can build. Right? An example is that we realize that even though mosquitoes are a huge problem, and malaria, etc., they still don't have electric mosquito repellents as we do in India. And I mean, small issues like this, you find gaps in the market that you can then go and plug. Latin America, completely ignored, I think, by the world, just because it's slightly in a corner. Especially this part of the world completely ignores Latin America's existence, I feel. That has to change. There is so much happening there. Amazon, so many stories. Of course, there's also an element of football and food, etc., that we want to capture when we go there. US, New York, obvious, and Europe, of course.
Yeah.
What to do and what not to do. I think you learn both when you're in Europe.
Yeah.
Countries that we are missing out on. Australia, we are missing out on. Philippines, Indonesia, we are missing out on. Would have been interesting to have them.
That's for chapter 3, maybe.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Russia, I think, for all its good and bad and whatever, I think we can't ignore it. I wish we could somehow fit, but we only have 8 semesters.
Yeah. Well, so far, it feels like you've made a lot of impact in terms of students being interested in the concept and really sort of ripping up the rule book a little bit, I think. What are you hoping for in the next few years?
Running Tetr imposes a huge challenge on us logistically. We knew that going in, and I hope that we can learn from cohort 1, cohort 2. We keep improving our logistics, right? So how to start companies efficiently, how to have 300 students travel together from one place to the other without anybody falling sick, right? So there are a lot of these moving parts, which increases the chances of things not going 100% right. When you're in a normal university, you have 5 courses. You have 5 variables. Either a course is good or bad. 5 variables. Here, we have some 18 courses because we have shorter courses. We have the entire business that the students are building, which has its own moving parts.
Yeah.
Then we have an immersion in India, it's almost every week there's been an immersion. And some of these immersions have been like 300 kilometers away. You're going to a factory every now and then. So many things can go wrong, right? And so I just hope that over a period of time, we can get to 10 on 10. I think right now we are at 7.5 on 10 in terms of logistics.
Well, good luck with it. I think from what I hear from my son, even the trials are part of the resilience building as well, and the real sort of
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
And the global mindset. So congratulations and thanks for spending the time.
Thank you, of course.
Thanks,
Thank you
Pratham.
for